Hey, everybody, Waiting for Next Year.com podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lindell, and tonight kind of might be a solo cast, but not really. I think my guest tonight is none other than Kyrie Irving. This is one of the time I used to do this a lot more often, where I would play audio and I would kind of comment on it live and break it down. But in case some of you haven't heard, Kyrie Irving was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, and it's interesting. I don't want to spoil it. But I'll get into it. It's hard to figure out why Kyrie Irving even went on television to talk today. I'm not sure what he hoped to get out of it. I'm not sure if he achieved what he hoped he would get out of it, but we're going to break it down. So let's start off with the first clip.
Our next guest is an NBA champion, a four-time All-Star. He's embarking on a new chapter in his career this season after being traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Boston Celtics in pursuit of being the leader of his own squad. We welcome Kyrie Irving to the First Take desk. So good to have you.
How you guys doing?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
So why was it time to make the move?
Well, it was interesting 6 years. And you think about how the journey transcended my career from starting the first 3 years. That was a picture in itself, and then the last 3 years. And you think about those finite moments that have defined you as a player and as a man. You're very appreciative of it. Getting the chance to play with some unbelievable teammates, and had the chance to be with some unbelievable coaches as well. Got a chance to develop and evolve as a man, and I just felt it was best for my intentions to leave.
Best for my intentions to leave. He sounds like the kind of guy, I don't know if any of you went to business school where you had to give business presentations, whether it was on a topic or some fake business plan that you and your partners put together. But it's like he scripted out his entire first 5 slides from the PowerPoint presentation, and then the presentation didn't work. And so that was basically 5 slides all slammed into one where he couldn't remember a third of what he meant to say. Because I'm not sure what he was even getting at. He wants to be so intellectual, and that kind of came off like a bunch of gobbledygook. I'm not sure what he meant.
Let's break this down and let's get specific for a couple of things. I appreciate you being on the show. You know me. I'm going to ask now. What happened, man? Because it just seemed like, 1 minute you're in the championship, you're in the finals, you're hugging LeBron, you're happy to be in Cleveland, you're looking forward to coming back to compete for another championship, and then the next minute you want out. What happened?
I was just very patient in my approach, understanding what the magnitude of the moment was. I wasn't going to allow anything else to get in the way of our team's success. So I was just very diligent, very professional in terms of this whole entire process. And the request came at a time where I felt it deemed right for me. As a 25-year-old evolving man, coming in to perfect my craft every single day, I just wanted to be in an environment where I felt like I could be taught every single day and have that demand from my coaching staff and have the demand from a franchise that would propel me to exceeding my potential or seeing how far I can go.
That makes all the sense in the world in terms of the timing.
Okay. That makes all the sense in the world Stephen A. Smith is about to say, but it doesn't make any sense at all. Again, Kyrie Irving just kind of talking around things in the weirdest way possible. I think he's saying that he was patient in his approach, meaning he was willing to be professional in playing with the Cavaliers, and he thought about maybe demanding a trade earlier, but or he wanted out earlier. But this is the same guy who he signed the max deal the first second he had the chance to do it. And so unless that, when LeBron came back, that started some weird clock where Kyrie Irving all of a sudden was thinking about getting out. It's just hard to understand exactly what's going on. So, but that I don't know that answer, it's like a politician who had talking points and didn't really feel like listening to the question, let alone answering it. I'm going to back it up a little bit because Stephen A. is going to say that makes all the sense of the world before following up his answer with another question.
of you saying to the Cleveland Cavaliers you want out. But by your answer, you just gave indications that this has been something that was stirring and percolating for a little while. Like you knew that you was approaching this moment. You just didn't want to be a distraction to the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I was just very patient within those moments because I knew that the importance wasn't in my ego or anything that existed from the reasons on why I would come into work every single day and not give 100% and not give my teammates everything that I had. From that standpoint, that was the way I was raised. I was raised in being in a professional environment, being in a workplace, and making sure it's conducive for everybody. So having those relationships and developing those every single day, and then on top of that, still wanting to be as successful on the court and still trying to figure out myself off the court. I had to balance those two, and I felt like when I was coming into that environment, there were times where my energy was just a little off, and I just had to figure that out. And there were times when after games I would go out and shoot. As any professional athlete or any person knows, when you're in your workplace and you have those tough days, there are questions that you ask yourself, is this the right thing for me right now? And I answered that question myself.
Yeah, again, I'm not really sure what he's saying there. It's like the athlete version of the corporate doublespeak guy. We're going to put it on the whiteboard and we're going to round table it. And then if we can come to some kind of a conclusion based on a mutual agreement of circumstance, and it's like, it's a bunch of words, but I'm not quite sure when you put them all together that they actually mean anything. And I'm sure, I honestly, I don't think Kyrie's stupid. I think he actually does mean something. I just know that this little appearance on First Take was completely and totally ineffective in terms of communicating anything. From that aspect, it feels like it was kind of a failure. There are more clips. All right, a little space.
Let me get the big question, the elephant in the room. LeBron James is a superstar, widely considered the best player in the world. Kyrie Irving is a star. Everybody knows you're a bad boy. But the reality is that you got tired of playing second fiddle. You wanted your own team. This is the perception. Yeah. You wanted your own team. And damn it, you was tired of being second fiddle in Cleveland, and you no longer wanted to be LeBron James' teammate. Respond to those accusations.
Oh, man. Well, the actual storyline of everything that was created from a variety of sources, a variety of people, whether it be from my circle, whether it be from anywhere else.
I'm not even sure what that means, but all right, here we go.
The last person that everybody kind of forgot about was me. I didn't say, as you said, I didn't say a damn word. And
that is true.
And it was all because that was never a reality for me, because I know the type of person I am, and I know who I'm developing into and who I want to become. It never came from the fact of me wanting to be absolutely selfish and absolutely putting myself first and wanting to be the man. I don't really have an ego. I have a presence and aura about me that's very reality based. It didn't come in a form of living in this false world and not being able to tell the truth to somebody and look them in the eye and like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to move on, and I'm ready to be on my own. I'm ready to try out a new situation and be in an environment where I felt like I can be happy. And my intent was still the same, and it always will be the same, is that to be around people and to interact with them. I love doing that. And to do that through basketball, that's even better. But to be happy every single day I come to work and perfecting my craft, oh man, I can't wait to get the next season started.
Go ahead, Max.
So I can't wait to get the next season started. To be happy, meaning he wasn't happy, but he won't explain why he was unhappy. He's not willing to say it had anything to do with LeBron James. Again, I'm not sure what he hoped to accomplish, but I'm pretty sure he's not accomplishing it. Here's Max Kellerman asking the next question.
Kyrie, glad to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. So I just want to get it straight. You no longer wanted to play with LeBron James?
Excuse me?
Did you no longer want to play with LeBron James?
I mean, it's not really about wanting or not wanting to. It really just became how everyone turned this into a madness because it was myself and LeBron. If this were anybody else getting traded, I don't think it would have been as big a storyline. Being with that guy was unbelievable.
Of course, it wouldn't have been as big a storyline. You're talking about the best player in the world and one of the best players in the world who won a championship not last year but the year before, who could have gone back to try and do it again, who are a lot closer in reality to winning the championship than maybe some people thought after watching them lose to Kevin Durant's Warriors. So yeah, of course. Again, this is Kyrie Irving not seeming to actually answer the question. Thankfully, Max Kellerman doesn't really let him off the hook.
The situations that we came across as individuals and as a team, collectively, we all grew. And when you get to that crossroad in your career and in your life, and you have to make that decision, it's not about necessarily figuring out what the other person's intent is. It's figuring out what your intent is. And when I came to that crossroad and I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, this is absolutely something that I want to do. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to play with the best player on the planet. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to be the second fiddle, not wanting to be sunned. And as you like to say, Max, being a second-class citizen, I have no idea what that is, or a second banana. I don't have any idea what that is. But I know that I'm very solidified in who I am as a person, and I always will be that way.
Let me ask you this question.
Guess what, everybody? Kyrie Irving watches a lot of First Take. He knows. He's referencing stuff that Max Kellerman has presumably said about him, or things that he said about their situation. I don't know what he's talking about because I don't watch First Take. I haven't even seen any clips. This is the first Take clip I've seen since Skip Bayless left the show, probably. I don't know. But Kyrie Irving sounds like a guy who knows very, very well all the things that have been said about him on one of the most high-profile talking head shows in sports.
Well, hold on, Stephen A. Let me just follow up with that, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Then I'm a little confused by the answer, Kyrie, because when you say you don't have ego, I see the way you play at the end of games. You want the ball. You're a killer in crunch time, and you're extremely talented. It seems to me that kind of player, the closer, as they say, does have ego. So if you say that you want to leave LeBron because that's the crossroads in your career, you're ready to kind of have your own team, are you also saying, it seems to me you would be saying, but correct me if I'm wrong, that you think you have a better chance of winning a championship on another team? Because as a winning player, I would assume that would be the ultimate goal, not necessarily seeing how far you can go on your own, or as the leader of a team, but giving yourself the best chance to win a championship. Do you think by leaving Cleveland that's what you did, or am I wrong in my premise?
Well, when you think about the journey, and then you also put things into perspective for what they really are. It's a truthful environment, and I wasn't getting that. And that's where it really stands.
Well, when you say it wasn't a truthful environment, is that pointing to the coaching, Tyronn Lue? Is that pointing to GM? Is that pointing to ownership? Just to be clear.
No.
Okay, that's not at all.
No, it's pointing to the perspective. It's pointing to the perspective that I know exactly what I want, and I want to be happy and perfect my craft in doing so.
Kyrie Irving answers a question, leads people down a path with his answer, and is confused and befuddled as to why nobody understands what he's saying. But he hasn't actually explained anything. Not one thing has Kyrie Irving explained to a clear point that any of us would actually be able to understand what he's actually trying to say or what he's not trying to say. He is the quiet genius, and nobody else can figure him out. That's the way Kyrie Irving seems to feel about himself. Again, I'm not sure what he aims at.
Let me go someplace else. Did you speak to LeBron James or talk to LeBron James before you and your representatives met with ownership and let them know that you wanted out?
No.
Why not?
Why would I have to?
I'm not saying, no. I'm not implying that you have to at all.
Yeah.
But he's the best player in the world. He's a superstar. He's considered the leader of the team. Your teammate, who you speak glowingly and very highly about. And if you don't want to play there anymore, even though it was a personal decision, chances are, if you don't speak to somebody about it, they might take it personally.
Yeah.
Do you care about that at all?
No.
It's his future, his life.
Kyrie,
I think that we're forgetting one important thing. I think we're forgetting one important thing.
Okay, sure.
Stephen A., as you sit up here, and Molly and Max, as you guys are professionals, I don't think that you owe anything to another person in terms of figuring out what you want to do with your life. And it's not anything personal. I'm not here to tirade anybody. I'm not here to go at any particular person or the organization, because I have nothing but love for Cleveland. Like, I have nothing but love for the times that I spent there. There's nothing about that. It comes a time where you mature as an individual. It's time to make that decision. And there is no looking back from that standpoint. There is no time to figure out how to save someone's feelings when ultimately you have to be selfish in that and figuring out what you want to do. And it wasn't about me not wanting to win. It wasn't anything about that. It was like, I want to be extremely, extremely happy, like in perfecting my craft. And that was the only intent that I have in all of this. And I think that it got much more attention because everything else started coming out from who would think that their important opinion mattered most. Right. And I saw previous players.
Maybe it was doing the I'm coming home thing on social media. Maybe it was seemingly making fun of LeBron James at a Golden State Warriors wedding reception with Steph Curry. Not a Golden State Warriors wedding reception, but a wedding reception with the Golden State Warriors that also I mean, the Kyrie Irving, I get taking the high road. I get trying to make this, just kind of a personal philosophical thing. But this is the NBA. There are rosters with salaries and a salary cap, and he was under contract for 2 more years. So all this personal stuff and personal journey stuff, this wasn't a free agency choice. He actively broke up the team that was created, the team that was under contract. He actively came in and broke it up. And yes, maybe LeBron leaves next year and he exercises his free will to get out and leave early and do whatever else. But it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Apparently NBA circles and NBA media and fans are fine with all this personal emo journey stuff. But it comes off like crazy town. Just absolute nutso gibberish speak. And that's kind of the way Kyrie Irving came off in this thing. Let's listen to the last little bit.
I saw past players, I saw current players speaking on something that had absolutely nothing to do with them.
Yes.
I'm appreciative of their comments.
No, you're not.
But at the same time, it's ultimately my decision.
Ultimately my decision to ask for a trade with 2 years left of my deal and everything else, and want to be happy while I finally hone my craft. I'm not sure why he even went on television. Whose idea was it for Kyrie Irving to go out there and talk? Who helped him craft the bullet points that were going to send the message that he just desperately needed to put clarity to the situation and add his voice from his own voice to what happened and his trade, the trade and the trade request and everything else that went down? It's an utter failure. It was an utter failure. And I mean, I'm trying not to get emotional about it because what's done is done. I still think he's going to regret it someday. But I do take into account that he's 25 years old and that trying to convince a young person that they're making a mistake that they're going to regret later in life is, you might as well take a piss in the wind. It just doesn't matter. You can't possibly get through to them, and I understand that. So I'd love to know your takes on this audio from First Take. I'd love to know what you think of Kyrie Irving's decision to even go on TV and make some kind of weird explanation, whatever it was. So hook me up, get me some feedback. I'm the Facebook page, on Twitter, for all you Patreon supporters on the Patreon page. Send me an email. You guys all have my email address too. I'm very easy to find. Let's continue to talk about this because I don't even feel that badly. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and he, after all this has gone down, and especially the clips today, and he's been saying it for weeks too, but these clips just kind of solidify it for him. He's convinced that the Cavaliers got the better end of this deal, and he's worried about Isaiah Thomas's hip, but he's just convinced that Kyrie Irving is the wrong kind of crazy. For all the talents and abilities that he has in the world, that he is a nutcase, that he is a loose, you won't be able to count on him mentally. And I obviously hitting that shot in Steph Curry's face makes me think otherwise, but He's convinced. And so I wonder if there are a bunch of you out there who are also convinced that this level of crazy, the Cavaliers are just better off without it. Better off without it in their locker room, on their roster, and as a part of their future. So that's it. That's it. I hope you enjoyed listening to that with my commentary on the side. We'll talk to you next time. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.